Marker. Oh my God, Jonathan, the ship is sinking and there's water rushing in all over the floor. Oh guys, I wish you could see the peril that we're in. Jonathan, what are we going to do? We're about to die.
It's time to
cut. Oh, damn. Well, that was acting, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it or not, we were not in danger. We were not even on a ship. We're in a studio right now. We're actually on a podcast. And this is the truth. Acting is a great way of convincing people that you are thinking and feeling something that you're actually not. And people pay lots and lots of money for many, many generations to enjoy this method.
And you don't even have to really feel these things.
You don't have to feel these things.
You don't have to be alive in many ways.
You don't have to. Yeah, that's right. They say, oh, method this and method. Oh, you got to tap into something. I mean, yeah, that can be helpful, but you don't
be as if you're alive.
Yeah, exactly. Be as if you're living that. And you know what? There's no such thing as a bad character, Jonathan. You know, there's no such thing as a villain. Technically, when you play a villain, I think it's great to connect with why they're such an asshole. Yeah. You know,
I mean, you have to.
You have to.
If you think your character is one-dimensional, right, you just got to look a little deeper.
You know, I got to tell you something, Jonathan. I started. How old were you when you started acting?
I mean, 6. Did school plays.
Well, what's the first one you did, and how good were you?
I played Zeus in Demeter and Persephone.
Oh, that's, for those of you who don't know, that's Greek mythology. That's a god of thunder. Oh, lightning, actually. Yeah, lightning. I don't know if there's a god of thunder. There's a Thor, right?
Yeah.
That's the lord of... I forget about that. But anyways, you were the bolt
Zeus.
One.
Yeah. One of the main male characters, though I wanted Hades.
You want Hades because he is the hell one. He's the devil one. Yes, we all know Hades from the Hercules movie. The blue hair. Now, you were 6 years old when this was in production.
Actually, you know what? I was like 10.
10. Oh, okay. Fuck. All right. Well, he is not as much of an OG actor as we thought.
Yeah, I got into the game pretty late. I did not imagine myself as a child actor until, I was 16, and I was like, oh, shit.
Please. If you started acting by 10, you're past your child prime. You're basically a teenager at 10. Just retire. Yeah, you just hang your little child hat up.
Yeah.
I remember.
I was always like 2, I think, or 3 years later, though, in like the imagining where I was just like, oh, I'd make it like, I could always have the realization later, like, oh, I could have done that when I was 14. That would have been cool. Like, oh, and then when you're 19, you're like, oh, if I was 16, that would be a good thing to do.
That would have been fun to do at that age. Like, oh, yeah. I think I do every now and I can relate to that. I look at things that some kids are doing who are just, slightly younger than me. I'm like, oh, that would have been, I would have been great for that. Like, oh, darn.
God damn it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's not then.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember the first time I've acted. Oh, you know what? I can. In Mrs. Cavisto's 4th grade class, we had a play that we put on for ourselves. She split the class into 2 groups, and we we each did 2 different plays for each other. So one group did it, was the audience for the other, and vice versa. And I will never forget, I was the villain in our play. And he was the best part. He was the best role. His name, get this, his name was Grandpa Garbage. That was the first role I ever played, Grandpa Garbage. And this guy, he was basically Bobby Worst, because he was a guy who went around and just littered everywhere. And he was like, yes, I'm going to pollute everything.
Oh, wow.
And he was this slimy guy, and he just would pour toxins into the river, and he would throw garbage all over the place. And Grandpa Garbage, and that was my, and I loved playing Grandpa Garbage because I got to be evil, and I made a costume. I was covered in trash, and I'm trash, and I remember how it felt to hear kids laugh. At times when I wanted them to laugh, not when they're making fun of me, but when I make a joke,
crucial difference,
or when I play a character, I was making little choices. Even as a kid, I was 4th grade, I was 9 years old. I was making choices even then. I'm gonna say this line like this. I'm gonna add this inflection, and with my tones and what I was adding to the dialogue that was already written, I noticed that they were laughing at what I was adding to it. Which I think is, a lot of people, when they get into acting, they don't understand or at least I didn't at first, that when you look at a script, yes, they're words, but as an actor, you have so much range in how you're going to deliver those words, and you determine how that character feels, and that's going to determine how the lines come out, and you could deliver a line 1,000 different ways, the way that you choose to do it. And choose to do the next one, and the next one paints your own. It adds your own vibe as a performer to the scene. So I thought that was really cool as a kid. As a kid, that gave me a lot of confidence. I thought, oh wow, maybe I can be funny, and maybe acting isn't as hard as it looked. And I didn't do act again until when I can't remember. Oh yeah, I made a movie and on that green screen. I was like. Right. I forget how old I was. I must have been 11 or 12, something like that. Yeah,
it's so interesting that an experience you have an experience at a very early age, and it affects you, and you start to realize that it's part of your whole relationship with that.
Right.
And you're so young. It's a little tiny school play. It's like,
well,
art is important.
You know what really got me into acting, and I hope. Either of them are listening to this, but I grew up with this brother and sister, and they've always felt like cousins to me because they was what?
I thought it was your brother and sister. Have always felt like cousins.
Oh, my own brothers. They've
as if they're close. I'm lucky to have two siblings that always felt like good cousins.
No. But there was this brother and sister. I grew up with this. They were like they always felt like cousins because they are always kind of they've been in my life since I was like in kindergarten. Or maybe not that far. I don't know. Actually, we were very young. That Nathan and Natalie Hawkins. They're both actors that I've worked with for many years. And Natalie she's appeared in a few of my videos as this Indian. She played, this Vishalam woman. Anyway, she I watched her when we were 9 years old, and I saw her in the school play. I must have been like 8 or 9 years old, and I watched her and I remember thinking, oh my God, she's a star. Look at all these people in the audience. They're laughing at her, and I remember thinking, I want that. That was the first time I had seen acting from one of my peers and saw the effect that it had on an audience, because I'm like, I know that girl from, math class, and wow, she's making everyone in the audience laugh. I want that. And then I didn't feel that same way again until I saw Borat in 2006. I saw it at midnight screening. And I remember when Sacha Baron Cohen would say the slightest, funniest line, but with the slightest delivery, and the whole audience would just be triggered and laugh and die so much to where I couldn't even hear the next joke because the whole theater is roaring in laughter. And it's like, holy shit. It's one thing to witness the power of a priest or a politician, right? But to witness the power of a comedian, to witness the way a comedian can harness a crowd was so religious to me. Like it was so and there's only a handful of experiences in my life where I've been in the presence of a performer, whether it's on a screen or live, either way, that just blew me away with what they were delivering. And when I see performances like that, it motivates me to do what I do. And it's cool to think that I read in the comments and people will see they'll see stuff that we've made and they're like, oh, that's made me want to make something. And I understand what that power of influence feels like, because I've only felt it, my whole life. And
yeah, that's an interesting thing too, because you're watching. I mean, it's whatever art speaks to you, but you are watching someone be a conduit for a truth. And you, especially with laughter, I think that people with darker mentalities can find comedy as a means of communicating truth much more deeply and thoroughly than a lot of other means and mediums. Yeah. And so you're sort of wowed by the whole thing because it's making you feel alive.
Well, I think that comedy is a very, very, very magical thing, and we constantly overlook the power of it and how it can combat almost everything. And also people argue that it's the hardest form of acting. I think it's the easiest form of acting. I think it all depends on who you are, honestly. I think for me, comedy, and I think with you too, because you're also really, I think most of the people I work with on the YouTube channel are all really good at being funny. But I've also worked with people who are really good at being dramatic and not so good at being funny. And I don't think that one I don't think it's a scale. I've been told by a lot of people that like, oh, comedy's the hardest. I'm like, maybe for some people, but like, I think for me, I find myself struggling in like dramatic moments where I have to be serious and I have to, and some people think that's the easier form of acting. I feel like you're tapping into just two different parts of your brain.
And I feel like that's it is an oversimplified like premise.
Yeah,
just to like even saying like, oh, the one is harder than the other. It's like they're both a lot more complicated than that sentence reflects.
They're both very complicated emotions for sure.
Yeah, and the way that like your ability to increase as a performer in one or the other as it relates to your own life experiences and your early perspective.
Right.
And just like general practice, it's
it's an
oversimplification, but you are very good at it.
Thank you.
That's true.
I very much enjoy. I don't know. I enjoy playing. I enjoy the idea of hiding behind someone else's intentions, so to speak. Yeah. It does feel good to.
You're like, this isn't my pain. It's but Jimmy's pain.
You know what? It's that person. That's that character's pain. It's not me. He's suffering. But what feels good is coming up with a character in my head. Like we were talking just before the podcast about how I was. I'm coming up with a new character that I want to do now that Blame the Hero's over. I have sort of a catalog of new characters that I've been waiting on for a long time to show you. And I don't know. I just love being able to examine a type of person, especially in LA here. We have so many different types of people who walk around, and it's just such a great place to people watch because you'll start to notice, you'll notice a weird person in any big city. You'll notice a strange person, and then like a day or two, maybe a week or a month later, you'll notice another strange person who shares similar symptoms or something, and then you'll notice, oh my God, that's a type of person. You'll notice new different types of weird.
It's like a rare Pokemon. It's like they only spawn 1 out of 1,000, but if you keep walking around, like there's a second.
Yeah, right. They're like Pokemon that you can discover second versions of. And, it just, living in a big city, because I came from a small town where everyone kind of thought the same way. And living in a big city, you have so many different kinds of ways of thinking and mental health. And you have different levels of, just everyone thinks and is different so much out here.
You got one of each kind of person that's out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I live in a very, very, very busy part of LA where just so many different cultures and races and religions and ethnic groups it's like a huge intersection of the world where I live. And so just walking to get my coffee in the morning, as with many parts of LA, just going anywhere, you're running into all different kinds of people. And after a while, like you start to think, oh my gosh, okay, this is a character. This is definitely a character. You'll run into enough of a type of person. You'll be like, okay, the other people in this city will relate to this type of.
So, question: what is it about? This is a 2-part question. What is it about these people that ends up attracting you to them as a character? Yeah. And then what is the kind of reason for performing them? Like, right. Maybe that's kind of 2 sides to the same question.
Well, I definitely the reason I'm attracted to characters is the same reason why it's like I think that if you find a good character, and a character can be a real person or a fictitious person, but when you find footage of a good character, it's almost like music like listening to music, to watch footage of a great character, their mannerisms, the way they respond to things. It's part of what makes Austin Powers such an alluring trilogy to watch. It's part of what makes The Nutty Professor such a great, classic comedy. When you watch the different, when you watch movies that pay tribute to the distinct quirks and weird gestures of a person's behavior, even like at a party, I'll go to a party and I'll see people who are just fascinating to me. I'll watch, clips of late night TV where just, there are certain, like I went on a James Spader bender the other night where I was just watching interviews of James Spader because I find him so fucking fascinating to listen to and I'm just watching, studying the way he sits, and I'm studying the way he responds to questions, the way how long he thinks before he answers. And I've always done this ever since the internet, really. Like I've always, and well, even with my, like when I was a kid, I would do it with teachers. I remember there's certain people who I find their behavior fascinating, and I find the way that they respond to problems fascinating, and they leave an imprint on me. And I feel like I can play that out, their behavior pretty authentically, because oftentimes I study it. Like and so
what's the, like, when you're like, oh my god, that person's so like weird and strange and fascinating, and I'm just fascinated by them. That's like the feeling that I'm following here, right. And then you're playing them. What's the, like, describe the catharsis?
I get to play them, and a lot of people get to see me be this character, and I get
that's
to.
Interesting. It's not. Is it? Sorry, I'm going to let you finish, but before I do, it's kind of like, guys, I saw this interesting thing. Do you want to see?
Yeah, it part of it is me showing off this character. Like, look what I found. Look at this crazy, and like, right? Don't you guys relate?
It was like this. It was like this.
Yeah, I like being able to show off what I love. Like, because when I make a video, I'm really just taking the elements that I love about that character. So, like, if I see someone who inspires me, like Helen is based off of a real person named Helen who really was a hall monitor when I was a child. And I don't know if she's fucking dead today. I don't know if she's. I don't know if she knows who I.
She's so bizarre that even just like you're like any link to reality, I'm just like.
So I took the elements that I did like about her. I took the elements that I thought made her a memorable character, and I kind of just strained out that pulp. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm, and so like. It was just what I truly loved about it. It was just the essence of Helen that I loved. And I like being able to take that bundle and being able to show that off to my friends and family and my fans and being like, hey guys, look at this, right? Isn't this a weird character? Hopefully they fall in love with the character the way I fell in love with the original. And, you know, that's kind of the joy of performing your own characters is that you get it.
And that's interesting because it even seems like your work is like a character description increasingly more in the context of a story. But it's almost just like, hey, this is, and like you go back and do sketches and longer, bigger portraits, if you will. But it's kind of on the same par as that, which is like this series of one-liners, right. Versus like series of one-liners with this story, loosely or roundabout, playful, and then sometimes a fully fleshed out giant. I
don't think it's hard to create a story around a character if you know them well enough. Yeah. Most of these characters, I don't know if you've ever
how
done
you see them.
A lot of times I've gone on dates or hang out with friends where you people watch and you kind of come up with stories of the backgrounds of who you're looking at. Oh, that person probably came from blah 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 blah, and you sort of fantasize about what their life is like in real life. And, with my characters, I sort of look at them the same way. I think it's only human nature to look at someone and come up with a loose idea of their background. I imagine every person you see on the street, you can probably look at them and be like, oh, they probably grew up in this kind of household. In your judgment could be way off, but everyone does have a backstory. We develop backstories on people. We project backstories onto so many people that we meet. And the people that we can't figure out their backstory, we're fascinated. Like, oh, where does this guy come from? But we always want to have some sort of a narrative. We can't just, accept someone and just out of thin air and be like, oh, this person's just a person who exists. And with the characters, none of them, I've never played any character where I'm like, oh, this person is just some random character. I don't know where they're from or I know nothing about them. Yeah. I think that before they even come in, before I even buy the costume, I kind of already know roughly what their history is. Mm-hmm. And so when I create story like Blame the Hero or Stuff and Sam, when I write these, what people think are these elaborate, oh, how did he get them all to connect? It's like, I already know where their backstories are. And then it's just like, how do you get those to connect? But the backstories are all figured out. And the grandpa thing was really hard. And spoiler alert, if anyone hasn't, well, if you haven't seen the finale already, then you really don't want to. But the grandpa thing was something I was sitting on since January, and that was really hard. But it's also like a secret where it's like if I told anyone, no one would really get the impact as they would watching it. So it wasn't really that hard for me to keep the secret. I was like, I'd rather they just see the way it ends. Mm-hmm. But it was cool. That was the first thing that we shot. It was like one of the first days of shooting. Was that last shot with Grandpa and Donna on the couch. That was really, really, nice shooting our martini before the first episode's even done. But yeah, what
I meant to say this earlier. I'm just going to say it now. Grandpa Garbage. When you were describing that character, I was just like, God, old people care the least about the planet. It's like that is so true. It's just like that's been true probably like since the beginning of the maybe ever, but like
well, I mean, if you look
Industrial Revolution, I guess it's just like as you get older, you care less and less about. You're less.
Well, you got less time on this planet. You like, well, fuck it. Yeah. I only got 20 years left here. I'm not going to throw that Pop-Tart wrapper on the ground.
Yeah.
Make your fucking front yard, make a path out of Pop-Tart wrappers to your front door. Anytime you see a trash can, opportunity to spill it.
Jesus.
Just walk around with
liberals.
That's a character. I should bring back Grandpa Garbage. I should make him... I should make a character, or maybe not call him Grandpa Garbage because then people would
confuse public domain.
They probably confuse it. I know, right? They'll confuse him with the Grandpa character that I have. I'll call him what should I say? Like Gordon. No, good. What's a G pronoun like Lieutenant G? Something starts with a G.
Gregory.
This is how we brainstorm shit, guys. Yeah. This is how ideas happen. It's just a lot of sounding dumb.
Yeah. That's the key. You have to be down to sound dumb. You have to be down to look stupid.
Let's just say for now, his name is Tommy Trash.
Okay.
And he hates everything. And, now he's basically just Bobby Worst, because the more I'm thinking about this character...
Yeah. He's like little Bobby and maybe Grandpa combined.
You know what I should do? I should just do a Bobby Worst video where he is specifically polluting everywhere. He's just dumping trash, and that's his mission for that day. So maybe I'll just do that. But it's a great idea. I think the idea of a villain. Oh, I just hit my microphone. I think the idea of a villain who loves littering is such a great concept, and I'd love to play that character again. But
yeah, and one thing that I love about comedy is I may have said this phrase before, but who gives a shit? It's if you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh or they'll kill you. That is just one of my mantras where I'm just like, wow. And I'm always struck by how true that is. And there are many times where like a message is someone's trying to convey a very important idea to someone else. And that person who's hearing it doesn't like it and doesn't want to change.
My God.
And I'm always like, you know what? It's not funny enough.
It's not funny enough. And you know what? I think that it's true. People love to laugh. People love to, because anytime you've made someone laugh, and all of my heroes, all of my inspirations have said this at one point in one book or one interview or another, they have all unanimously agree on the fact that laughing, you're basically giving them a vacation, a mini one, like a mini, like
it's a pressure release valve. It just like resets them. It catches. It's a little subconscious. It catches them off guard, their psyche a bit, and they have to like confront a second them.
And you know why? And I'm talking about a real laugh, because if you get a real laugh, that you are triggering an involuntary impulse. And that feels good. It's basically like a little orgasm, and you're triggering that within someone's mind so much that it affects their diaphragm, their vocal cords, their facial expressions. It's something that feels...
And it's so purely joyous.
It's purely joyous.
It's fucking laughter. It's laughter.
It's laughter.
That you're just putting in them.
And laughter just opens people up. They feel more comfortable with you. They feel like
it's so good for them. It's so good for all of us.
I love it when people make me laugh, and it's such a great feeling. So I understand. It's a very powerful tool to have. And if you are, I totally agree with what you're saying. If there is a message you're trying to get out there, then you might as well have comedy. Doesn't hurt anything. Maybe I'm thinking maybe they shouldn't have reported 9/11 with a punchline. But there, in most cases, I think comedy is appropriate. And I think that we think that comedy is not appropriate in a lot of places where we really should have it. My family is pretty conservative, but I mean, not my whole family. A lot of them are pretty liberal too, but a good amount of them are pretty conservative. But there's one thing that they all have in common is that they all love to laugh, and on both sides. And I was very lucky. My mom and dad, on both sides of the family, they love laughter. And they're all willing to be a little immoral to chuckle at a joke, liberal or not. They're all kind of like, oh, we'll laugh at that. That's funny, And I don't know. I find that comedy and acting, I think that they do go hand in hand. I find that most comedians are also usually pretty good actors.
Yeah, and even if someone isn't if their forte isn't comedy, still they have the same sort of infatuation with giving someone else the experience of a truth.
Right. I think that. Sorry, I was drinking iced coffee. I thought I'd be finished before you started talking. I'm
just like right.
You ended a little early. But thank you. I know I have a Kleenex here. Oh. I asked for a tissue, and suddenly there's one here.
The magic of editing,
right? No, but what were we talking about? What the fuck were we just talking about?
The gift of laughter.
Oh my God, isn't it so great? God, I love to be able to laugh and take my mind off of things and I'm not going to reveal who my joys are because those are private between. I'm not going to reveal who makes me laugh the most, but I have on my YouTube recommended. It knows the people that make me laugh the most.
Yeah, show us your algorithm.
I know. I don't like people knowing what inspires me too much. I don't like people knowing exactly because I watch a lot of garbage. There's a lot of stuff that I watch that I'm pretty sure most people don't think is good. And I like it for reasons, and I like it for reasons that you're not supposed to like it for. I like. There's a lot of movies that I really like, and a lot of comedians I really like who aren't funny or aren't good, but there's something about them that I enjoy, and I find that when I'm home alone and I'm watching the TV by myself, I like to watch those things that people would otherwise probably judge me for, or I'd feel judged for watching. If someone else was in the room, and I don't remember.
I wish I knew you the way your YouTube algorithm knows you.
No one knows me like that. My YouTube algorithm is it's a sacred place. But
I wonder if coders they're like, wow, that's a really interesting person, and they must have. They obviously understand it more than I do. I wonder if they can read the choice parts, and they're like, this person's fucked up.
I don't, I don't know. I wonder, who actually looks at it? If any person actually has to look at my algorithm or look at my recommended section, you go wow, Brandon's pretty fucked in the head. No, mine right now has a lot of late night. I've been watching a lot of late night. I've been also for what we were just talking about. I love picking apart people's mannerisms. I love certain celebrities, the way they talk, who they are. Just any footage of them, I can't get enough. There's some people that once I like I said, James Spader. I've been watching him. I can't get it. I've just been watching videos of him just talking to the camera. Him just just anything with him on a and I
like watching him and Robert Downey Jr. talk.
Oh, Robert Downey Jr. He's another good one. His mannerisms are also very interesting, aren't they?
I feel like he's a more confident version of my potentially nervous energy.
Interesting. Robert Downey Jr.
He's you know what I mean, a confident, anxious person is like wow, you're doing great, and there you are, just speaking the same speed. It's I don't know.
He's a good one for you to live vicariously through. Sometimes when you see him in a scene, I imagine you're like, oh yeah, especially as Tony Stark, that sort of confident genius that he hides. But I love Robert Downey Jr. He's so great. I think that who he is in person is such a fascinating character. I'm trying to think of other actors that I think are great just on there. There's a ton of them, but I can't think of them right off the top of my head. But a lot of people out there who, not even just, Tim from Grand Illusions. We talked about him, the guy who, the toy channel, does a toy review channel. I watched this guy. I don't know if I talked about him on here. I talked about him all the time.
Yeah.
Did I? Anyways, on
Wolves.
YouTube, his name's Tim from a YouTube channel called Grand Illusions. And this guy, I find, he's another character that I find fascinating to watch, and I have a feeling if I keep watching him for a couple more months, he's gonna be a character. Like this is what I'm talking about, guys. Like my characters develop from me being obsessed with a personality type. That's what I'm trying to say. I think I become obsessed with either someone I know. Like they not in a way like I'm romantically or sexually attracted to them, but I become obsessed with someone in a way like, oh fuck, that person's so fascinating. I'm almost like drawn to it the way that like a drag queen is drawn to her female muse. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I'm attracted to the person on how unique them as a characters, and then I either one of two things here. A, I want to cast them in something. Or B, I want to suck their energy and become them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to fuck them. I'm going to become them, and I'm going to be the character. And that's what happened with Helen. That's what happened with Grandpa. That's what happened with all my characters. They were derived
You're
from...
not you.
You're not,
I'm you.
I'm going to be you now. And I'm going to be you to so many more people. And so many are going to watch it. And my character will... but that is kind of the truth. I look at personality types. And it could be a celebrity that inspires me. It could be a fictitious character that inspires me. Or it could be someone that I know. But... there will be a personality type or someone or something about a person that I'm just so fascinated with. And I find that if I'm fascinated long enough, like if I'm fascinated for more than like 6 months, I'm like, okay, clearly I know this type of character. I know the way they think. I've been infatuated with or fascinated with the way they think and move and feel. I know them well enough to make them into a character. Now I just have to shop for them and get their hair or their clothes or their accessories and now I have to just make them physical. And then I'm them. Because then turning it on the inside isn't hard because I've been thinking about who they are for so long. So yeah, and I think
that's
James,
diabolical, dude.
I just want to say, I think James Spader. I am saving him for something, but I the more I watch, because I've watched him off and on for years. Just anytime there's an interview, I stop everything so I can watch it with him. And he's a personality type where I'm like, okay, you are a character. I just haven't tapped into it yet, but eventually one day there will be a James Spader based character, right. In the same way that Jurgen and Sam, all my characters, they're all kind of based off of a person that I know or am obsessed with how they behave. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, I don't know, acting is basically, I mean, that's you just, I feel like as long as you know the character, you as long as you know them well enough, then they're easy to play because you're already feeling their emotions before you even start speaking your dialogue.
Yeah. It's definitely very helpful to the performance to do your homework and really know where they're coming from. Right. Be able to improvise within them.
And if you're an actor, you should be obsessed with characters. Like for me, I'm obsessed with, like, when at any movie, I'm always basing the movie off of how good were the characters. That's all I mean, there's so many elements that make a good production. The budget, the lighting, the writing, the everything. So many elements so many departments that go into a production. But as a fan, I am most obsessed with how are the characters and how fascinating were they, and how did the characters interact with each other, and what was it's all about the characters. That's why HBO does it so well. I think they're a very character driven network.
Yeah, they get it.
They get it. They get it.
Like, bring us that good shit.
But no, I feel like that's where, I feel that's why I feel like as an actor you should be like that. You should be so obsessed with the characters that you
I'm excited for this is kind of random.
Tell me.
HBO's future in this age. It's like HBO is one of the few channels. Like I could see NBC, ABC, CBS, all these channels like kind of going away and just becoming production companies that create specific content.
Yeah.
In which the case HBO is positioned just fine because it's like, well, I definitely need HBO, and then let me fuck with like some Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah.
But I definitely need HBO because I got that shit.
As long as they are consistently releasing gems, they're going to be fine. Chernobyl, a huge gem.
Yeah, Big Little Lies, like just going down the road. It's like
Big Little Lies. Have you seen this new season of
Barry?
Big Little Lies?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Is it good? The one with Meryl Streep and
it is good. Meryl Streep is.
Is this an anthology? I haven't seen it. Is that an anthology series?
I don't know if that's the right term.
But can you turn into this season, or should I watch it from the start?
From the beginning, you must.
Yeah, I watched Barry. I'm all caught up on Barry.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Speaking of acting, that show.
I mean,
And in fact,
amazing.
In fact, speaking of acting classes in particular, I just started studying under Leslie Kahn, who is. I don't know. Did you know who she was before I started taking her class?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know who she was, but everyone I talked to, they're like, "Oh, you're studying under Leslie Kahn." Yeah. They know of her, so I'm like, okay, she knows what she's doing. And I'm about 4 sessions in. It's a weekly class. I'm in there. Honestly, it's like 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And it's pretty intense, once a week. And I've learned so much about character act. Like not even just that. I've learned a lot about just writing. Because through an acting class, believe it or not. Because in an acting class, we are forced to break down a scene and study why the scene is so great. And basically, we have to analyze the scene and make it seem like the greatest piece of literature we've ever read. Right. And
in the same way that if you're going to play a villain, you can't be like, "Wow, this guy's a real piece of shit."
Right. I mean, we literally will take a 3-page script, which those of you know, 3-page that means 3 half pages, and like in these scripts, they're like because we're studying off of a book. I think this is like a stage. I don't think there's a screenplay. I think it's like a scene from a play, and it's just a very short scene. But we'll spend like all 5 hours talking about these 3 pages, and they don't give us anything else from the play, so we don't know the context outside of these 3 pages. So we have to, and the whole idea is like if you're going into an audition in Hollywood, you're never getting more than your scene most of the time. So you have to come up with everything you can possibly surmise about this character within the 3 or 4 pages they've given you from this movie or from this TV show. So this class is sort of kind of trying to train me to do the most with an audition. And I
always thought that was really fun. It was like good detective work. You're like, well, this is page 11, so it's obviously in the very beginning before the act break. Yeah. Like, okay, this is the flower stage.
Right. You read all the little things. Oh, he's out of breath. Whatever. He must have been running from something or to whatever. Right.
It's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. But when we spend 4 or 5 hours discussing 3 pages of dialogue, it really does it made me as a writer wake up to, oh, this is what makes a scene fascinating. We're really kind of focusing on how does each line of dialogue advance a scene. And I know this is writing, especially television writing 101, but yes, you've
heard it before, but to approach it from this angle, open your eyes.
Something about it opened my eyes because it's like, and luckily I incorporated a lot of it into Blame the Hero, the finale of Blame the Hero, because in the finale of Blame the Hero, there's so much story that has to convey. There's so much that I'm trying to tell the audience. It's like, how do I do this with the least amount of dialogue possible while still? So each line basically every line of dialogue has to advance the story further. We can't have a line of dialogue that doesn't bring the scene further. It always has to move along. But then B, because it's a comedy, is it funny? And so it's like, how do we move it along, and how is it funny? And like when you sit down and break down these scenes, it's like what makes this scene so rich? It's like every line of dialogue has to, move the story or make us laugh. Like you said, if it makes us laugh, you can get away with so much. You can get away with a mundane scene. Like for instance, there's a scene where the cooks start slapping each other, and in the script, all it said was they're there in the kitchen and they just start slapping each other. There's no, how do you make that funny? And we had this scene that had nothing to do with the story. It had nothing to do. It didn't advance the story at all because we spent so much time in the kitchen watching the cooks get mad at each other enough to start slapping each other. That didn't really advance the story. We just needed that scene to have the guards come into the building and get them distracted. But the fact that we took our time with it, we made it funny, and we enjoyed doing it, and we had a good time doing it, it doesn't, I mean, at least for me, watching it as an audience member, I don't feel like I'm being taken, like my time is being wasted watching that scene because I was laughing at it. And
it's good that, they're like, you want to be layering these purposes. You want to be layering comedy over moving the story forward, et cetera. And so when all that's woven in, then it's like more spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah. I really learned that when I was, again, like Sacha Baron Cohen with Borat and Bruno, those two movies. I noticed the narrations, if the narrations are funny, what we're watching isn't necessarily funny. It's like him just walking down the street, but the narration is really funny. Yeah. And then he would juggle that with, okay, then something would happen with what we're watching. Something funny would happen when the funny narration ends. The funny narration ends, then Borat throws his bag on the ground and we hear a chicken inside go, and it's a punchline. I remember the whole theater died laughing, but the narration stopped so that punchline could happen. And that, I just thought that it just not a second wasted, not a second wasted. And I think that's the most important thing with a good script. It's like not a moment wasted on something that doesn't advance us further or doesn't bring the scene out. But no, I'm really excited I think this summer I'm going to be working on just character videos for the most part. Nice. Some recurring.
Scratch that itch.
So, yeah. I miss doing videos like Hall Monitor Helen. A day with I missed Fashion is Blind, just videos where I got to run creatively in any direction with this character and got to just create a character. And like I said, Blame the Hero, we've been working on it for like 5.5 months.
It's fucking 7 months.
Is it 7 months? I can't. Oh my God. But basically in that time I've been itching to, there's certain characters that I want to bring out of the closet and that I've come up with. And I miss the feeling of being on the new frontier and just like, I'm coming up with this new Japanese girlfriend. I don't know who this character is, but hopefully she's, and I miss that. So I have a few characters I want to do, and now I'm just trying to think of how I want to shoot it, and it very much feels like it's a way of shooting that I haven't quite done in a while. I haven't done it since the Bobby Worst video. That was the last time I came up with a new character, I think. That was almost a year ago. So, or there's a Santa Claus. I don't consider the Santa Claus one like a character. I'm just playing Santa Claus. Everyone knows how to play Santa Claus.
And you worked on another character. And still working on it.
Right. So I'm very, very excited. Yeah, and I am working on a handful of new characters, and I'm just excited to explore them because sometimes I don't fully understand them all the way until the costume goes on for the first time and I see myself in the mirror. And I remember the first time I saw Helen in the mirror, and I remember I was doing her voice. I was still working at the law firm at the time, and I remember doing her voice the entire way there. It was an hour commute, so the whole way there, I was listening to New York accents, trying to copy the New York or general New York accents, and then I remember on the way back home again, so like 2 hours of just in my car repeating lines and talking like I'm from somewhere back east, and then the next day I bought the costume, put it on, matched kind of what I was talking in the car to how I looked. I'm like, and she came together. I'm like, that's how. And then I think the day after that, then we shot it, and so it's like characters, they and I have a few that are sort of in that mid process of where Helen was. I'm sort of like halfway there with a couple of them. So now I'm just trying to determine which one I want to do first. But it feels good to be back at it again.
Good.
It feels good to, I feel like I closed a chapter of my video. Not a chapter, because I plan on, none of the characters this wasn't a farewell to anybody. But it's certainly just turning like we're going to see a lot of new people and new areas of the universe that haven't been explored as much. And I feel like the characters of Blame the Hero, we know them pretty well, and I'm probably not going to focus too much on those,
unless you do.
Unless I do, unless I want to, they're.
But no, I feel that.
Yeah. I think that.
It's like after Stuff and Sam. It's like Sam.
Yeah,
Sam. Something other than Sam for a little.
Right. And I'm still.
But he's just so cute. He can come in and he can visit a little bit.
I know. Sam is a great character to pull out every now and then. They're like little ventriloquist dummies. Pull them out of a trunk.
That's true.
But anyway, no, I actually wanted to. That leads me to my next point. So this summer, I'm trying to do. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd be doing a video a week, and I want to do that. And I think in some cases that'll be possible. Usually, it takes me like a couple days to shoot a video, and the crew that I work with, we're all very busy. We're all working on different projects, and so when we are shooting together, it is always a treasure because that means that all of us were free on that day. But so I don't know how frequent.
It's like 3 days of shooting over the schedules of reality, can take a bit.
It can take a while. So I don't know how rapid the videos are going to come out. I'm definitely planning. In a perfect world, I want to do one a week. So I'm clearly not planning videos that are super grand in scale. I think I got that itch satisfied with Blame the Hero. Blame the Hero was a fairly extensive project, and I used a lot of locations and actors and whatnot. So I think going forward, videos like that Kid in PE, the simpler ones that are, just basically just simple ideas shot in one location, really over the course of a day's time. I'm going to be doing a lot more of that and just experimenting with new characters. And because I'm going to try and be cranking it up in terms of volume of what I'm putting out, I'm probably going to be taking a break from this Deep Balls podcast and for an indeterminate amount of time. I'm not saying I'm close. I'm just doing this so I could focus more on the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
But I am planning on doing one more episode next week. And most of the time, actually almost every time, we've always been like, yep, we're talking about that. Oh yeah, Jonathan, what should we do? Yep, we're going to talk about that. But this time around, I figured, let's not us decide what we are going to talk about next week. I wanted to turn it over to you guys.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to talk about? Are there any questions that you want us to answer? Are there any topics that you want us to cover?
And we've got some great stories in the inbox that we're going to use on this one. So thank you very much to all those who have sent it to us already. Sent us juicy staffs.
Word has it that, what's his name? Tyler and
Papa Thumbus.
Papa Thumbus. You all remember from the doo-doo episode. The ones
Kyle.
Kyle. Is that Kyle?
Kyle's
the pooper? Okay, the one that was squatting over the toilet bowl. Well, apparently Kyle has heard our coverage of that story.
It's true.
And I figure that's a great, if we're going to do a season finale of Deep Balls podcast, I think that having that conclusion. I told Jonathan I don't want to know. I don't want to know what they said. I don't want to know until we do next week's episode.
Yeah, it's going to be real.
We're going to find out what Kyle thought about our coverage of it. And now I'm a little nervous because I was quite judgmental, and I still am, and I still stand behind everything I said, even though I don't remember what I said. I remember I was revolted, and I was very, very upset because I couldn't understand why he did it. Mm-hmm. I was trying to get behind why would he do like that at his friend's house with the door open, and why? Oh my, y'all remember that, right? I mean, that's a fucking crazy person does this. But apparently he's listened to the podcast. Mm-hmm. He has responded. So we're going to figure out next week how does he feel about this?
And we're going to share at least Jonathan's review of the method.
Oh yes, Jonathan's review of the method. Jonathan, I got to tell you, I've been too scared to try. Every time I think about doing it, I see it ending in not just an injury disaster, but a messy injury disaster.
That's part of it.
And just so you guys know, the doo-doo process that we're talking about is apparently I thought the squatty potty was
naked gargoyle.
The naked gargoyle, that's what we call it. I thought the squatty potty was a bit extreme. Apparently it works. This is a step above that. No pun intended. Forget everything you thought you knew about the right way to shit. This guy, Kyle, is it Kyle's the pooper? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He's barefoot, fully nude.
Doctors hate this.
Oh, doctors don't tell
don't tell your mom about this.
He's squatting over the toilet bowl, but he's standing. His feet are on the toilet seat. Yeah. Was the seat up or down? I can't remember what he said. The seat was down.
Yeah.
So that makes it even like I just wipe off the rim of the bowl and stand on that because then you're a little bit more secure. To stand on a toilet lid. fully naked. Like, what
It's
if
like no flimsy lids allowed.
There's so many things that could go wrong, and you're just letting your genitals hang over like you can get hurt in so many ways. Guys, we'll find out.
Great.
We will find out next week what they thought about our coverage, and I'm assuming does Kyle explain it at all?
I can't give any.
Any details. Oh my gosh, you guys will have to turn in next week. It's killing me. But whatever we wanted us to talk about, let's cover it. And like I said, guys, next week is not the last episode. It is just I'm taking a break. Jonathan has been producing at Viacom. Congratulations to you, by the way. He has been busier than a duck. Whatever that means. And
think about it.
And now that Blame the Hero is done, I really want to hit the ground running with more content, and so I am going to be busy as a duck as well. So it is not the last episode next week, but it is the final episode of this batch of episodes for a little while.
Collection 1.
While we catch up on other projects outside of this podcast. So we will be back, but but I think that next week we should talk about whatever you want, and we'll get closure on this toilet fiasco.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to read a couple of our favorite comments that we've seen thus far. It's just love.
Jonathan, I can't wait for it. Well, guys, I am going to go enjoy the rest of my iced coffee. I'm going to smoke a little weed. Jonathan is going to have a great... What are you doing today?
I'm going to edit this and barbecue.
Barbecue,
barbecue. It's July 5th right now.
July 5th.
Went to an event yesterday. Didn't get to barbecue myself, and that's happening today.
I know you got that itch. Jonathan is a master griller, and he's a great person.
I'm a man.
I'm a man,
Brandon.
Well, and in his meat, he's a man of meats.
Yeah.
And he knows his meats.
Yeah.
He's a man of many meats. Jonathan, I wish you the best of luck. For one, I'm going to go on a hike. I'm going to Runyon Canyon.
Cute.
I imagine there's going to be a lot of cuties there because it is July 5th.
Every time you describe that, I may have, whatever. I don't give a fuck if I mentioned it before, but I listen to classical music and would tour Griffith Observatory is my favorite date to take myself on before I met Rachel. And just being up there, it's so beautiful.
Now,
and,
inside the observatory?
Yeah, I personally like to go inside the observatory a little stoned, listening to
music
and reading these plaques. How ridiculous, but I loved it. And whenever you describe a hike, I'm just like, it sounds just like what that was for me.
Well, and I think that people should have these moments throughout the day. They should have moments of solitude and just let their mind reset. Guys, I love it. I love to drive my own car to Runyon Canyon. If anyone knows of LA, Runyon Canyon. It's a great hiking spot. I like to drive my car there. Also, Griffith Observatory is also very, very beautiful. I've only been there one time, but very, very beautiful on the inside. And when I get to Runyon Canyon, I get really stoned. I throw on my noise canceling headphones, and I just go up the hill. And really any headphones, but I like the noise canceling because it does just sort of keep you in your own little world. And I go up, when you're stoned and going for a hike and you got, and Runyon Canyon, no one's in a bad mood there. Everyone and
you're on a date with your favorite person. Like
yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've thought of some of my best, or some of my personal favorite videos at Runyon Canyon.
Yeah.
And my old boss at the law firm, Scott Warman, he used to say that he would, there's a reservoir that goes right around this small little lake under the Hollywood sign. Not a lot of people know about this, but it's like a jogging path, and I want to say it's like 1.5 miles, 2 miles long. And he would go for a walk every evening after work when he was just opening his business, and he would just think about stuff. And it didn't hit me until recently, now that I'm doing my own business, and I go to Runyon, and I just... I think let my mind wander. I'm doing what he did, and I do look up to him. Yeah. So I think it is important for you to find your own version of Runyon Canyon. It could be a trail near your place. It could even just be a street that you walk on, just someplace for you to be alone and listen to music, a safe area. I don't want anyone doing this in the projects because when you have the noise canceling, you're basically asking to get robbed and fucked. But I think that you should find a place that is relaxing to you, is almost spiritual to you, and only you, and let your mind wander, especially if your job needs you to be creative. It's a great place for you to come up with new ideas. So this has nothing to do with our topic today, but it's just good to do. But it's just good to do. I had to tell y'all. Yes. All right, guys. Well, I will see you next week, and until then, don't act up. Nice.